The Bible hides incredible secrets, enigmatic beings, colossal creatures, and angels with indescribable powers. Who are they? Where did they come from? Do they still exist? Get ready to dive into the most mysterious stories of the scriptures. Cherubim, seraphim, Lucifer before the fall, giant creatures and beings that defy human logic. What the Bible reveals about these mysteries will surprise you. Top 10 Most Mysterious Creatures of the Bible. Do you know them all? Watch until the end and discover what few dare to talk about. What you'll see here might change your perspective on the spiritual world. If you think the Bible is just a book of ordinary stories, get ready to change your mind. Within its pages are accounts of enigmatic beings, colossal creatures, and celestial entities that defy all human logic. Who are the 24 elders surrounding God's throne? What do the wheels within wheels seen by Ezekiel mean? And what exactly were Behemoth and Leviathan, mythological monsters or real beings? What is most intriguing is that these creatures are not just symbols or metaphors. They appear at crucial moments in biblical history, fulfilling specific missions and revealing deep secrets about the spiritual world. Some guard the celestial throne, others represent divine judgment itself, and some are so powerful that they have been associated with chaos itself. But perhaps the most shocking of all is the origin of one of them. A being who began as one of the most glorious in heaven and became the greatest enemy of God and humanity. So if you want to understand what's really behind these stories and uncover what few dare to talk about regarding the most mysterious creatures in the Bible, stay until the end, because what we're about to reveal may completely change your view of the spiritual world. In the book of Revelation, John describes an awe-inspiring scene: 24 elders seated around the throne of God, dressed in white robes and wearing golden crowns. But who are they? Some scholars believe they represent the glorified church, composed of the faithful who persevered to the end. Others suggest they are angelic beings, guardians of divine holiness, eternal witnesses of God's celestial plan. Regardless, their presence signifies authority, wisdom, and uninterrupted worship of the Creator. The vision of these elders leads us to reflect on the concept of honor and reward in the Bible. The fact that they wear crowns suggests they have received authority and recognition for their faithfulness. In various passages, crowns symbolize spiritual victory, a promise for those who remain steadfast in faith. Just as an athlete trains tirelessly to win a medal, God's servants are called to stay strong, trusting that an eternal reward is reserved for those who do not give up along the way. What makes this scene even more intriguing is that despite their exalted position, the elders cast their crowns at God's feet in an act of total submission. This teaches us something profound. No achievement, no matter how great, surpasses the acknowledgement of divine sovereignty. And this leads us to another astonishing vision recorded in the book of Ezekiel, where strange structures known as wheels within wheels reveal a mysterious aspect of God's omniscience. Ezekiel's vision is undoubtedly one of the most enigmatic in the entire Bible. In the midst of a celestial revelation, the prophet sees wheels within wheels, moving in all directions without turning. These mysterious structures were connected to cherubim, and their rims were covered with eyes, symbolizing God's omniscience. What might seem like a science fiction scene actually represents something far deeper: the mobility and sovereignty of God over all creation. Many scholars interpret these wheels as a representation of God's plan in constant motion, which nothing can stop. Imagine a complex gear system where each part turns perfectly and synchronously. Even when life seems chaotic, God sees everything, controls everything, and knows exactly where everything is going. This vision teaches us that nothing happens by chance. Even the most unexpected events are part of a greater purpose. And what does this mean for us? It means that just as these wheels did not need to change direction to move, God's will also does not change. It is fulfilled perfectly, regardless of circumstances. We may be in the midst of situations we do not understand, but we can be sure that He is in control, seeing what we cannot yet perceive. And this certainty prepares us to understand another biblical mystery: the colossal creatures mentioned in the book of Job, Behemoth and Leviathan. In the book of Job, God presents two monstrous and mysterious creatures as examples of His power over creation: Behemoth and Leviathan. Behemoth is described as a gigantic creature of unmatched strength whose bones are like iron bars. Some suggest it could be a hippopotamus or elephant, but its description goes beyond anything known in nature. It is unbreakable and imposing, a reminder that there are forces created by God that humanity will never be able to fully tame. Leviathan, on the other hand, is an even more enigmatic and terrifying creature. Depicted as a colossal aquatic being with impenetrable scales and fiery breath, it seems like something out of a legend. However, its mention in the scriptures suggests that it is real and symbolizes chaos and destruction. Unlike Behemoth, which is stable and firm, Leviathan represents something uncontrollable and fierce, a force of pure devastation. For many, this creature symbolizes the spiritual threats we face, challenges that seem far greater than what we can handle, yet God easily dominates them. These beings are not just biblical curiosities, they teach us about our own journey. Behemoth reminds us of the importance of resilience and strength, while Leviathan warns us of the chaotic forces we must face with faith. Just as God governs these creatures, He also governs all the difficulties that try to bring us down. And speaking of powerful and mysterious beings, there is a celestial group that repeatedly appears in the scriptures, protecting and executing divine justice: the cherubim. The cherubim are one of the most impressive figures in the Bible, described as angelic beings with multiple wings and an imposing appearance. From the Garden of Eden, when they were placed to guard the way to the tree of life, these beings represent God's justice and holiness. Unlike the popular image of delicate angels, cherubim are celestial warriors, messengers of the Almighty, ready to execute His commands. Their appearances always carry a weight of authority and mystery. Ezekiel's vision describes them in an even more intriguing way: beings with 4 faces, human, lion, ox, and eagle, and bodies covered in eyes. This symbolizes wisdom, strength, service, and divine vision. They are the ones who uphold the throne of God in prophetic visions, indicating that divine presence is not limited to a fixed place. This mobility reminds us that God is not stationary or distant, but acts at all times and in all places, even when we cannot see Him. Cherubim also appear covering the Ark of the Covenant with their wings, reinforcing their role as guardians of divine holiness. The message behind them is clear: access to God requires reverence and purity. Nothing impure can stand before His glory, and this leads us to another powerful and enigmatic group of angels, whose presence is described as living flames of worship: the seraphim. The seraphim are one of the most mysterious groups in the celestial hierarchy. Unlike the cherubim, who act as guardians and executors of divine justice, the seraphim are described as beings of pure worship, constantly exalting God's holiness. In the prophet Isaiah's vision, they appear before God's throne with 6 wings, 2 to cover their faces, 2 to cover their feet, and 2 to fly, proclaiming incessantly, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts." The very name seraphim means burning ones, reflecting their flaming essence and their closeness to divine glory. What is fascinating about these beings is how they interact with humanity. In the same vision, Isaiah, realizing his impurity before God's holiness, has a burning coal touched to his lips by one of the seraphim, purifying his guilt. This act symbolizes something profound. We cannot approach God without undergoing purification. Just as gold must be refined in intense heat to remove its impurities, human beings must also be shaped to become worthy of divine presence. The seraphim teach us that true transformation begins when we recognize our smallness before God's greatness. But not all angels remained faithful to their mission. One of them, driven by pride, chose to rebel and fell from his glorious position. This angel would become the greatest enemy of God and humanity, Lucifer. Few characters in the Bible carry as much mystery as Melchizedek. He appears suddenly in the book of Genesis without genealogy, without a recorded past, and without a clear explanation of his origin. What we do know is that he was the king of Salem and priest of the Most High God, a unique title at the time. Melchizedek meets Abraham after a victorious battle, blesses him, and receives in return the tithe from the patriarch. His name means King of Righteousness, and he is also called King of Peace, raising even more questions about his identity. What makes Melchizedek such an intriguing figure is that his priestly order does not follow the traditional lineage of the Levites, which would emerge centuries later. The author of Hebrews directly compares him to Jesus Christ, pointing out that he is an eternal priest, superior to Aaron's priesthood. This has led many scholars to speculate whether Melchizedek could be a pre-incarnate manifestation of Christ, a divine typology, or even a celestial being acting among humans. Regardless of the interpretation, his presence challenges human conventions and points to a divine plan that transcends time and human understanding. His encounter with Abraham teaches us that true spiritual authority does not come from tradition or bloodline, but from a direct covenant with God. He appears as a mystery, blesses, and disappears from the biblical narrative, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and deep reflections. But among the messengers and warriors of the spiritual realm, there are also those who carry a feared and misunderstood role, the angel of death. Among the many mysterious beings mentioned in the Bible, few carry such a dark and intriguing presence as the angel of death. He appears subtly but decisively as the one who executes God's judgments. In the book of Exodus, during the final plague over Egypt, an invisible being passes through the houses, striking down all firstborns who did not have the lamb's blood on their doorposts. This figure is often called the Destroyer, but his exact identity remains shrouded in mystery. Some traditions believe that the angel of death is not a single entity, but rather a role assigned to different angels, including cherubim and seraphim. In other passages, we see an angel bringing plagues upon Israel, and even annihilating an entire Assyrian army of 185,000 soldiers in a single night. This suggests that the angel of death does not act on his own, but only under God's direct command, fulfilling a role of justice and restoration of divine order. This angel raises an important question. What does death truly mean? For many, it is the end. For others, it is a passage to something greater. The Bible teaches that death is not the final destination, but a transition between two eternal states. And if there are beings who serve to execute God's judgment, there are also those who work in the darkness to corrupt and destroy on their own, the demons. If there are beings that symbolize corruption and opposition to the divine plan, those are demons. Unlike faithful angels, these fallen spirits rejected God's light and chose a path of rebellion and destruction. They appear in the Bible as intelligent, cunning, and organized entities, working to divert humanity from the truth and lead them into damnation. Jesus confronted them many times, freeing possessed people and revealing God's supreme power over these evil forces. But demons do not act only through physical possession. Their work is more subtle and dangerous than many imagine. They influence thoughts, feed pride, encourage vices, and distort the truth. One of their most effective strategies is to make people believe they do not exist, because an invisible enemy is much harder to fight. However, the Bible teaches that those who live in God's presence do not need to fear them, because Christ's authority is greater than any evil force. But the origin of these dark beings dates back to a cosmic event of unimaginable proportions, the rebellion of one of the most powerful angels ever created. Before becoming the ultimate adversary of humanity, he held a prestigious position in heaven until his own pride condemned him. This being fell and became the enemy of God and mankind, Lucifer. Before being known as Satan, the adversary, Lucifer was a high-ranking angel, described as a being of great beauty, wisdom, and splendor. The prophet Isaiah mentions his fall with the famous words, "How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn." Isaiah 14:12. His name, Lucifer, means bearer of light, indicating that he possessed a special radiance before his rebellion. However, pride was his downfall. He desired to be like God, seeking a throne of his own above the Almighty. This rebellion had devastating consequences. Lucifer deceived 1/3 of the angels, leading them to turn against God, resulting in their expulsion from heaven. Now, as Satan, he became the accuser of humanity, working to corrupt and destroy those created in God's image. From the Garden of Eden, where he tempted Adam and Eve, to the present day, his strategy remains the same: lies, deception, and seduction. He rarely acts directly. Instead, he plants doubts, feeds vanity, and offers seemingly easier paths to turn people away from God. But his fate is already sealed. The Bible reveals that at the end of time, he will be defeated once and for all and cast into the lake of fire. His story teaches us a profound principle. Pride is the first step toward downfall, and his journey raises another intriguing question. Before his rebellion, what was Lucifer's true role in heaven? Some scholars suggest that he was not just an ordinary angel, but the very leader of celestial worship. Before his fall, Lucifer was not just another angel. Many believe he held a special and grand role in heaven. In Ezekiel 28, his description includes references to musical instruments embedded in his very creation, leading many scholars to suggest that he was the leader of heavenly worship. Imagine a being whose very essence resonated in harmony with the music that exalted God's glory. His role may have been to guide angelic choirs in praises to the Creator, serving as a reflection of divine perfection and beauty. But the irony is that what should have been used to glorify God became the reason for his downfall. Pride grew within him to the point where he no longer wanted to be a worshipper. He wanted to be worshipped, and so the first rebellion in history was born, a cosmic event that changed everything. Lucifer's desire was not just to rebel against God, but to take his place. It was this ambition that transformed him from one of the most glorious creatures in heaven into humanity's #1 enemy. His story teaches us that talent and position are not guarantees of righteousness. If even such an exalted being could be corrupted by pride, how much more fragile are we, mere humans? But it also reminds us that true worship comes from a humble heart, not from extraordinary abilities. In the end, Lucifer fell, but God's glory remained unshaken. And this is not the only enigmatic story in the Bible. Throughout the scriptures, there are countless mysterious creatures, each carrying secrets and profound messages about the divine. Now that you've learned about the most mysterious creatures in the Bible, the question remains, what do these stories truly mean for us today? Are they just ancient records, or is there something much greater behind these descriptions? One thing is certain, the spiritual world is far more complex and profound than we imagine, and the Bible gives us glimpses into this invisible universe. But what about you? Which of these creatures intrigued you the most? Do you believe Behemoth and Leviathan still exist, or that Lucifer truly led worship in heaven before his fall? Leave your opinion in the comments. Your perspective on this topic is very important. And if you want to keep exploring these mysteries, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we bring content that goes beyond the surface, helping you understand truths that few talk about, but that can transform your worldview. So stay tuned and see you in the next video. The